I'm Mati Shoshani, coming to you live from the TBN Israel studio in Jerusalem. I'm joined by the one and only Tomer Zmora, who's sitting right beside me, and our amazing team back there running all the buttons and the tech behind the camera. We have Sam and Micah. We've got some exciting news for you today. We've got a lot going on. We're focusing on Operation Gideon's Chariots in the Gaza Strip. It is the massive ground maneuver carried out by the IDF, something that's been going on for a week plus now.
Almost 2 weeks,
Yeah, almost 2 weeks actually, if you think about it. But things are getting more extreme. Things are moving at a rapid rate. And also today is sort of the first big uh, move to food distribution as it's supposed to be done by an international organization directly to Gazan families to prevent food and aid going through the Hamas families. But first, before we get started, if you're joining us live and it's your first time here, welcome and thank you. Now pause the video for just a second and like and share and subscribe to this video to make sure you don't miss the next time we come live. Here at TBN Israel, every single day of the week, at least once, if not more than that, we come to you from news and content directly from Israel. We're based here on the ground in the country. Myself, Yael, our team are in Jerusalem and the Jerusalem area. We travel Israel and this region to tell you the truth about what happens here on a daily basis. So make sure you don't miss anything that happens. So what can you expect in about the next 45 minutes, give or take? We're going to be going through everything that's happening in the Gaza Strip. And while we do that, we're going to have, let's say, 2.5 sessions where we answer your questions from the people at home. So if you're new to this whole YouTube live thing, no problem. We're going to figure it out together in just a second. There is a chat. And in that chat room, you can ask questions. And the questions that we find to be most relevant, most effective for audience, Tomer here and our team behind the scenes are skimming through all these questions, and we'll float them onto the screen of the live to be able to answer them. And we'll take a couple breaks.
So many people saying hi to us right now.
Yeah, and as I said, you don't have to ask a question. You can also just say hi from, and we're happy to do that. We're happy to share this with people around the world. And one more thing you can do is on YouTube. I don't have it open sadly on my computer, but there's a super like. And the super like button allows you to drop a quick donation to TBN Israel. That donation keeps the lights on in the studio. No pun intended. I'm talking completely literally. Keeps the lights on. There are a lot of lights in the studio to keep everything running here, to help us tell more and more stories about what happens in the land. And believe me, we have a lot to tell. So let's start breaking down what we're talking about today and what's been going on. So you're on the TBN Israel Live. We're in Jerusalem. We're talking about Operation Gideon's Chariots taking place right now in the Gaza Strip. And let me give you some of the big headlines that we're going to be talking about. One, Division 36, which is one of the biggest and most powerful divisions in the Israeli army, most of it regular units, has been redeployed to the Gaza Strip. They've already taken over several areas in the Gaza Strip, specifically Rafah, and now moving to the Khan Yunis area.
It's saying that Rafah is completely empty after they end there.
After they finish the maneuver.
So it's mean now that's what this division gonna do in Khan Yunis.
Amazing.
Gonna empty the place out. So there is 5 division right now.
Yeah, 5. It's an incredible amount of forces in the Gaza Strip. We were all there a week ago.
Yeah.
Less than a week ago.
Tell them why we got there.
Yeah, we were in
because next week we're gonna have that on.
Yeah, but we also did a live. So we were in the Gaza Strip. What was it, Thursday?
Yeah.
Was it Thursday?
Yeah.
We were in the Gaza Strip on Thursday, on the border, and behind us, you could hear this throughout the live, were Israeli Air Force planes running bombing missions within the Gaza Strip. And we were there filming an interview with a very touching story. Hostage who was freed after 504 days, 505 days in Hamas captivity.
There is a wife and children be kidnapped and been held for 55 days in captivity. And I think what was that? Every 10 minutes we heard
I think it was 5 to 7 minutes in the morning hours, and then it became more scarce as the day lingered. But anyway, so we were there on the ground, as this operation was really kicking into overdrive. It was the amount of forces that you could see, the amount of aircraft missions, very substantial operation taking place in the Gaza Strip. And what we're talking about here, Operation Gideon's Chariots, is very simply the IDF bringing to an end the operation against Hamas. It's after more than 18 months of warfare against Hamas in the Gaza Strip that started with Hamas' terrorist attack on Israel on October 7th, 2023. The IDF is now remobilizing a very substantial amount of forces. Tomo just said that. 5 divisions at the same time, all maneuvering through the Gaza Strip. And what they're doing is clearing out population into secure areas, redistributing food and humanitarian aid to them, and then clearing out the last pockets of Hamas resistance and Hamas terrorists. And the purpose is to bring us, and I don't want to spoil the rest of what we're doing here on the live, is to bring the Hamas evil regime to an end as it's known, and to push for a hostage exchange deal in a way that is absolutely necessary, absolutely needed. After, for many of these people, we're on, is 596, what day is it today?
Yeah, it's 599.
Day 599. We're about to hit 600. Are we back? Okay. We lost the live for just a second, but we're back. And we're talking about Operation Gideon's Chariots taking place right now in the Gaza Strip. An incredible amount of forces, 5 divisions with the best of infantry, the best of armored, the best of engineering, the best Air Force assets, everyone and all the special forces mobilized throughout the Shalom from Toronto, Amit Shah. Shalom back to you. An incredible amount of forces mobilized through the Gaza Strip. And more than that, today we see a major kickoff of the humanitarian aid distribution in the Gaza Strip. This marks the end of multiple months of the Israeli government, together with the U.S. Government, working towards bringing aid directly to the people of Gaza and not through Hamas. And let me remind everyone why this is very, very important and why this is worth very notable. Up till now, and I've seen this firsthand, again, not hearsay, not something I saw on the news or on YouTube. I saw with my own eyes the Israeli government distributing goods into the Gaza Strip, and then I saw the trucks that were robbed repeatedly by Hamas. And again, we're not hearing this from representatives of the government. We're hearing this from the truck drivers who are being robbed by Hamas. This has been going on for 18 months, I said more than 18 months at this point, in the Gaza Strip. Time and time again, Hamas have been robbing the population. Today marks this big shift where the Israeli government is, for the first time through an intermediary, an American humanitarian organization, able to release aid directly to the people in the Gaza Strip. Very substantial. What we're seeing in the Gaza Strip is 5 divisions mobilized and moving together. We're seeing the Hamas sort of column of command, their structure, their governance ability collapsing in front of our eyes. They're not fighting as organized units. They're fighting sporadically as small units, fighting in pockets. They've reported internally of trouble paying basic expenses, salaries, etc., to their own people, and all of this where in the background there's an ongoing deadlock on the negotiation between Israel, Hamas, through multiple intermediaries on releasing the hostages. That's a good question. We'll get to that later.
I'm saving that.
So, by the way, we're here live, coming to you from TBN Israel, here at the TBN studio, downtown Jerusalem. Right behind me is the old city of Jerusalem. I'm here in the studio with Tomer, with Sam, with Mike who's downstairs in the control room. We're live. If you're here joining us, pause for a second and drop us a like, drop us a share, and a quick subscription to make sure you don't miss another live. We're taking comments as we go throughout this live. You can drop a comment in the comment section, and Tomer and our team are moderating and picking out the best comments to engage with. So we're talking Operation Gideon's Chariots, 5 IDF divisions mobilized throughout the Gaza Strip, and we're going to pause for the first Q&A session.
First question is, what does the name Gideon Chariot
Signify. So John Hughey, it's an interesting name. He asked the question of what does Gideon's chariots name signify? A couple things. By the way, generally speaking, military operations in the IDF are auto-generated by a computer. There's a computer that generates the names for the different operations. That isn't the case from what I understand here. Gideon is the biblical judge that rules or judges the people of Israel, and he's a substantial character in Jewish history, both in the fact that he's one of the, let's call it the father characters of the Jewish nation, not one of the patriarchs, but one of the fathers of the Jewish nation, biblically speaking. But two, he represents this story where the Jewish people are able to fight against a great enemy. And I know people looking at the Gaza operation might say, well, isn't Israel greater than Hamas? Well, let me remind you, we've been fighting a war on 7 or more fronts for more than 18 months now. And if you're asking yourself, what are those fronts? Let's start running through the list. Hamas was number 1. Hezbollah was number 2. Who comes next? Iran is number 3. Houthis, number 4. Syria, number 5.
Hezbollah?
We said Hezbollah. Yeah, we said Hezbollah.
Samaria.
Judea and Samaria, number 6. And then there's several more that played a part in this.
Was the Iraqi militias and the Syrian, who said them?
Yeah, we said Syria. Even in Lebanon, there were enemies that were fighting against us. And then if you want to like zoom out and look at the other enemies we have in the region,
Like
Turkey that's been posing a threat. Anyway, we've been fighting a war of few against many. The question was, why is the war called Gideon's Chariots? Chariots, I think, just was meant to give a dramatic effect, because biblically speaking, Gideon was the one on foot and he was fighting against the army that had the chariots. Because the Judean people, or the Israelites back then, were people of the mountains more than people of the valleys. The people of the valleys, the Philistines, the Amalekites, the different people, they were the ones that had the chariots.
Next question.
How will
you know when Hamas is defeated?
Sue Holiday asks, how will you know when Hamas is defeated? Good question.
Hopefully nobody will try to kill us again.
I think that's a really good answer, Tomer. I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting question because it's both philosophical and practical. Israel went out to this war back in, let's say, the end of November of 23. The stated goal of the operation in the Gaza Strip that started back then in response to the Hamas attack was dismantle Hamas and free the hostages. Most of the hostages have been released, not all. Most of the hostages have been released, over 200 of them at this point, and there are 58 that remain in captivity or alive and dead. But Hamas is more than just a government. Hamas is a terrorist organization. Hamas is an ideological movement. The meaning here, when Israel talks about this in a practical sense, is remove Hamas as the governing body of the Gaza Strip and as a fighting force within the Gaza Strip. And when that happens, you'll know, because they will no longer be fighting against the IDF. They will no longer be launching missiles against Israel, and they will no longer be governing the people of the Gaza Strip. Next question.
Next question that I just saw. So, is it true that the IDF occupied 75% of Gaza? Somebody need to explain those numbers.
I'm so happy that question came up, because we were talking about this just before this started. Let me switch to this tab.
And I know it was one of our titles, but we have the right numbers.
What is the real number?
So 45% of the Gaza Strip being controlled or being passed by the IDF maneuvers.
Yeah.
It means that in our control right now is, you have the map over here, but almost 45% of the area.
Sam, can you pull up the map that I have on my computer? So I want to explain this. The Hamas has been saying that Israel occupies 75% of the Gaza Strip. And the reason they're saying that is they're trying to create this dramatic effect to like rally support once more. Woe is us, come and help us. First of all, the IDF should control 100% of the Gaza Strip, and Hamas should control 0. This is a map from the 25th. 25th is 2 days ago. But it was the end of the day, so let's say it's about 36 hours old, this map. In it, you see The yellow areas are the areas in which the IDF is present. Most of them have to do with the corridors and the areas going into the Gaza Strip. But another important part is here is take note of the green dots. The green dots are where goods are being pushed into the Gaza Strip by Israel.
Israel.
Israel is pushing in. Let's count together. 1, okay, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and also internally 2 additional points. Israel is on the various border crossings into the Gaza Strip, pushing in goods. I've seen this firsthand. It is an incredible amount of goods that are coming in. Just yesterday, the spokesperson for Kogat, the Israeli body that manages the communication with the Palestinians, specifically the ones in the Gaza Strip, I got some pictures live from the ground yesterday in the afternoon. And in the pictures, you can see in the most clear way possible the amount of trucks that are going into the Gaza Strip. There's absolutely no debate. And this is important to say because people around the world are saying, help, help. Israel is illegally taking over the Gaza Strip and Israel is starving the Palestinians. Those are lies. And lies are oftentimes they're trying to take one small part of the truth and twist it completely. Here's the reality. Israel, in multiple different border crossings, is pushing in goods into the Gaza Strip.
4 or 5 minutes ago, just published that part.
Yeah.
About how many hundreds of Palestinians been watched going to El Sultan to get
goods.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the map really tells the story. In the map, you can see how many locations Israel is pushing goods into the Gaza Strip from. And let me explain the background to this and how complicated this is. What's been happening since the war started is aid has been going into the Gaza Strip. And it goes in through various border crossings. The little green dots on these maps are exactly that. And when the aid goes in, Hamas robs the trucks of the goods coming into the Gaza Strip. They don't give them out themselves to the people. They store them, and then they sell them at a crazy, crazy price to the Palestinian people. It's a price that is so expensive that I, living in Israel, wouldn't be able to afford buying food for that kind of price. I would go broke within a week trying to buy the food for the prices they're charging. Ridiculously expensive. We're talking selling, food for tens or hundreds of dollars per kilo. Is ridiculous amounts.
Those videos, but we see the last 2 days when the UN got into the trucks full of aid to the Gazan population, and immediately Hamas came over and just shot everybody around there.
Yeah,
and stole the trucks immediately.
Yeah, and then another thing that's happening is Israel, together with several international organizations, including one called GHF, which is an American organization,
or Israeli, nobody knows.
Well, yeah, we'll get to that in a sec. They've opened up distribution points within the Gaza Strip, and when they did that, the point was to have Gazan families send a representative from the family to come to the different distribution points and receive a box of food. And the idea is twofold. One, to make sure that every family in the Gaza Strip receives food and receives aid, and that there isn't a problem of food availability and caloric availability to the people of Gaza. The second one, which is just as important, is to make sure that Hamas isn't stealing the goods and preventing it from getting to the people. And one would say, isn't Hamas the governing body for the Palestinian people in Gaza? They are. But what they do is they intentionally harm their people. They steal their food and then they sell it back to them. One, to make money, but also to perpetuate the victimhood and the suffering of their own people. It gets even more extreme than that. In recent months, on multiple occasions, when there were aid organizations that were distributing goods in the Gaza Strip, and when there were, let's call them businessmen, who were bringing in goods at high quantities and low prices into the Gaza Strip, all of a sudden, one night, all of those warehouses are burnt. And of course, what organization would have the military power and the boldness to burn warehouses full of food inside the Gaza Strip but Hamas?
There is a food crisis by what they say.
Yeah.
Wow. That's mean.
And then Hamas has the gall to say that there's a food crisis within the Gaza Strip, while all the while, the ones who are creating the food crisis are Hamas themselves. So Israel has been distributing goods in the Gaza Strip specifically for the purpose of giving food directly to the people in the Gaza Strip. And then we're seeing images. I don't know if we're able to pull them up right now.
I can get you a
Actually, I think
map
we.
of where they how Chalukat Amazon. Wait.
Oh, it's also on the picture I had open. You can see some of these images inside the. Sam, can you pull up the map again? There's more than this, but right on my little map here, which is from about 36 hours ago, you can see the internal distribution points where there's another one, and yeah, this is Tel El Sultan. This is Netzarim. There's a couple of them. There's I think 4 active ones right now, and what the IDF is doing is it created these pockets where members of the Gazan population, without Hamas stopping them, hopefully, can walk in. They don't drive in. They walk in and walk out with boxes full
So
of goods.
Hamas already today build roadblocks and fire over civilians that try to get into those points, as we see, and the IDF need to interfere and use drones to eliminate them.
Yeah. So Hamas have, it's business as usual for them. They've never done anything good for the people of Gaza, and they're not planning to start now. What they've been doing all this while is while people are trying to distribute goods in the Gaza Strip, they're firing into the crowds of people going to get food for their families. And the reason they're doing that is, from their perspective, when the people of Gaza receive aid directly, then they lose their power. And they don't care, once again, about the people of Gaza. They care about their power. So from their perspective, there's nothing wrong with shooting up some of the people of Gaza that are going to get food. They want to do that to keep, to keep things going. So again, if people are joining us now, I'm Mati Shoshani. We're here on Boots on the Ground Live at the TBN Israel studio in the heart of Jerusalem. We're talking about Operation Gideon's Chariots taking place right now in the Gaza Strip. 5 division with the best of the IDF, the best of the tank units, the best of the infantry units. We're all there fighting actively to eliminate Hamas control and free the hostages in the Gaza Strip. That is where we are right now. And we're here live, going on and on with going on to tell you about exactly what's happening on the ground in the Gaza Strip. At the end of last week, we were all, Tomer and myself, standing there overlooking Gaza, seeing the beginning of that operation. And today we get to see the first images of the food distribution taking place in the Gaza Strip, the first images of that. And we're getting to see more than that, the effect and the efficacy of the IDF's maneuvers taking place in the Gaza Strip. And what we're doing today is we're going through the story of what's been taking place, and then taking time to answer your questions. If you want to leave a comment in the comment section, we're happy to pick it up and answer it. If you want to just say hi, we're happy for that too. And if you want to give us a super like and make a donation, that too is amazing, and we're happy for that. The previous question was, what level or what part of the Gaza Strip is controlled by the IDF? It's a lot less than what Hamas is claiming. And now we have time to move on. Mati, how many kilometers of Hamas tunnels have been destroyed? Martin Top. Oh, I don't know the answer to that. It's been hundreds.
London underground
It
tunnel
was
system.
it was hundreds of kilometers. It was some crazy number. Even in the previous round of operations in the Gaza Strip, it was in the hundreds of kilometers. But it's a little tricky, and it's tricky because we were all hearing 6 months ago, 8 months ago, the IDF destroyed many, many tunnel openings in the Gaza Strip. But the problem is that even if you destroy the opening to the tunnel might still exist 30, 40, 50 feet under the ground. And then when you destroy the entrance, Hamas can always go back and redig some of those tunnels, which has been happening now. So even during this operation, after a year and a half of tunnel destruction, we're still fighting against Hamas operatives that are fighting out of tunnels. We're still blowing up tunnels that have been actively dug by Hamas just in recent weeks. So in that sense, it's a lot. It's in the hundreds of kilometers, but I think more importantly, it's hundreds and hundreds of opening to tunnels, and more importantly,
there's another question. A lot of people interesting about.
No. Can you pull that back up?
I think that people don't realize when they say a tunnel, because I think me and you didn't understand it until we went up to the north and saw Hezbollah tunnels, or the idea that you get into a place and start to walk for, I don't know, 20 minutes underground. and the road is keep getting down and keep getting dark, and then there is a hole with
Yep.
weapons, and for me it was a shock to understand that that's what's happening.
The extent of it. Yeah, I think the main issue and something that people often miss is how much money Hamas and Hezbollah have spent on tunneling, and it's an extreme number of tunnels. Juliet Paolucci is asking, have you found and searched? I assume that's Israel. Every tunnel. Personally, I haven't found and searched all the tunnels, but the IDF hasn't either. Are they being destroyed after you search? Yes and no. We've searched many, many different tunnels. Many of them have been destroyed afterwards. But even when you destroy a tunnel, part of the issue is maybe, let's say the tunnel is many miles in its length. The IDF, you can't really blow up all of it. You collapse sections of it and you collapse the entrances. But sometimes even if you collapse it, it's sort of easier because the soil's loose to go back and rebuild it. And the soil, the way it's the makeup of the soil in the Gaza Strip is such that it's very easy and quick to dig.
Sandy.
It's sand rocks. You can sort of, even with hand tools, dig through it, and that's what Hamas does. So it's
Bit
not
of
really
cement
possible
and
to
sand.
forever eliminate all the tunnels in the Gaza Strip. Next question.
And again,
Oh, Kathy Kelly. How do you know there are no hostages in the tunnels being destroyed?
I think the IDF knows around or where around the hostages are, but we can't reach them because we know that maybe last time we did it, it's end up not so well with Hirsch and
Look,
six other.
so the question is, does the IDF know? Yes and no. The IDF knows the areas of many of the hostages, but you don't really know exactly where the people are. And also because of the way buildings are sometimes on top of tunnels, you might know that a hostage is in this area, but he was moved to a different part of the same tunnel system. And now he's underneath a house, and the house has in it, let's say, a Hamas executive that is being targeted by the Israeli forces or etc. Idan Alexander, the last hostage that was released in a gesture of goodwill towards President Trump in his visit about 2 weeks ago, he was on in the Israeli papers this last weekend, and he tells some of the stories from his captivity. And in one of those stories, he says, very close. What was it, like a month before his release?
Yeah.
I think maybe like a month before his release. We're talking a year and a half into the war. He says he almost died from a tunnel collapsing over him, and he had to dig his way out inside a tunnel, out of the rubble to get into free space. And he says that was the closest he ever came to being killed. And this is what the IDF knew in which area he was. He just wasn't exactly where they thought he was. And it wasn't that the tunnel was bombed, the tunnel collapsed on him from a bombing in a different place. Let's be honest here. The Gaza Strip is one of the most densely populated areas on Earth in its urban areas. And the hostages are intentionally held within civilian population and underneath civilian population. And the point is, in part, to deter the IDF from operating freely in that area. We know as a fact that hostages have been hurt by IDF maneuvers, even though the IDF has strongly tried to avoid that. We also know as a fact that Hamas has oftentimes killed intentionally some of the hostages, knowing that the IDF was close by. But look, in the end, the goal here is twofold: destroy Hamas, free the hostages. And sometimes those two are too close together to be surgical in every level of the operation. We have time for another question?
Yeah, one more question, and maybe we'll tell them about our forest.
Let's tell them about our force. So maybe we'll start with that. So a week ago, was it a week ago?
Yeah, a week ago we
Actually, a
went
week
up.
ago today.
Exactly today.
A week ago today. Myself, Tomer, Yair, and our team were up in the Galilee, Western Galilee, and we got to visit a forest planted by the TBN Israel viewers and donors. It was a very, very, very moving and emotional time for me. Let me explain this. Throughout this war, Hamas, Hezbollah, and also, how do I say this?
Random terrorist.
Israeli, Arab, and Palestinian terrorists, they've tried to burn down this country. And they did it within Israel. They did it near my house. I had to evacuate my home during the Israeli Independence Day because even though the fire wasn't necessarily started by arsonists, it was definitely lit multiple times by people who were trying to use this as a tool of terrorism. And we ran a campaign and are still running a campaign to rebuild the forest of this land. The response by the audience has been overwhelming. You guys absolutely impressed us with the level of response, the happiness and the joyfulness in which people gave to this cause. And we're still running this campaign for what, a couple more days?
Yeah, we have until the end of the week, and
And that's it.
that's it.
Yeah. So this is sort of the last opportunity to build. We got to see firsthand the forest that we planted last
Yeah.
week.
So
I think
you donate
the
to
segment,
us
the
to get
segment aired on, was it Saturday?
Yeah, it's gonna
Go back on our YouTube channel. I think we have a segment where Yael and I visit this last Saturday, visit the forest. Truly touching, truly emotional to see a new forest built in a place where our enemies were trying to destroy our country.
It was
And if-
magical. We just got there. It was a hot day, and
Yeah.
suddenly it started to rain.
So people have one last chance in the end of this week to donate to it. All you need to do is go to this website, tbn.org/rebuild Israel. One word. Again, tbn.org/rebuild Israel in one word, and make a donation to help plant trees in the land of Israel. Sam's playing some of the footage now on the map. The level, the extent of the forest was dramatic. It was so beautiful to see the forest we built. Now you're seeing on your screen clips from that segment that is on our YouTube channel from this last Saturday. Beautiful, beautiful to see the young trees being planted in Israel. I'm moved, and I'm absolutely excited and blown away by the level of response and the amount that people have donated to this. Are we in the thousands of trees already?
Yeah, a
Thousands
whole
of trees,
forest.
an entire forest.
That's huge.
Yeah, I'm so impressed by it. Okay, we have time for a couple more questions. Let me just remind people what we're doing here. We're here at TBN Israel. It's Boots on the Ground Live. I'm Mati Shoshani. I'm joined by Tomer, by Sam, by Micah, and we're telling you about Operation Gideon's Chariots taking place in the Gaza Strip right now. 5 divisions, the best of the Israeli army, an operation to clear out the last Hamas strongholds in the Gaza Strip, to bring food directly and aid directly to the people of Gaza, in a effort to force an agreement with Hamas that releases the last of the Israeli hostages. Bear in mind, 58 hostages, dead and alive, remain in Hamas captivity. Each one of them is someone's brother, father, mother. These are not names on a wall. They're not a number. These are human beings that have been abducted, and some of them murdered by Hamas to torture the souls of the people of Israel, and they need to be brought back now. Not tomorrow, not the next day, right now.
When does Israel have 100% of the Gaza Strip? Or
Probably likely not going to happen anytime soon. So the idea was, and this is really interesting. I've been watching analysis on what's going on in the Gaza Strip. Before we invaded the Gaza Strip back in, let's say, November 2023, the prospect of the Israeli army being able to maneuver through the Gaza Strip and remove most of the Hamas fighting force, and do so without sustaining tens of thousands of Israeli soldiers and casualties, was unthinkable. And yet, we've done it. The very small number, every casualty is a big number, but relatively speaking, less casualties than were expected, both on the Israeli and the Palestinian side, by the way. And again, every life is sacred, but still we're fighting a war here. And the Israeli army has been maneuvering through the Gaza Strip, and it's been doing so incredibly effectively. And the issue is what we're doing right now is we're moving the population out of an area, clearing Hamas out, and then moving them back to that area possibly, or to a new camp. And also we're running another operation there, which is clearing out the debris and the rubble and some of the remaining terrorism infrastructure. Because you need to bear this in mind, even while this war is raging, and even while this is ongoing, Hamas, instead of trying to rebuild, instead of building tents, instead of bringing aid to its people, what they do time and time again is build terrorism infrastructure. So if there's a house that still is standing, they knock out the back wall and they put an anti-tank or sniper nest in that house. And they've done so throughout the Gaza Strip, almost to the point where it's impossible for the IDF to find homes that don't have terrorism infrastructure in them, which is crazy. It's an area with 2 million people living in it.
That's
and,
huge.
And every home that the IDF goes onto, almost without any kind of exclusion, has terrorism infrastructure in it still to this day.
Um, why it's hard to let out the innocent civilians for temporary safety as refugees and return when security is restored in the area.
Well, that's exactly what we're doing. The IDF is doing exactly that.
Just after we cleaning the area, there is no much to come back for. And that's part Hamas is fighting from regular areas in the Gaza Strip. If it's schools, if it's hospitals, if it's people houses, and the IDF need to clear the areas, and many times they need to bomb the houses. So right now they just started also to move the rumble, the leftovers.
The rubble. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. So what the IDF is doing is it is removing population, clearing an area of Hamas, and then allowing people to return. Tomel, you're saying this incredibly correctly. The problem is that while we're trying to remove Hamas in the fighting against Hamas, much of the Gaza Strip or much of the homes are being destroyed because Hamas fights from within the homes, because Hamas detonates homes on IDF soldiers, because Hamas uses homes as a nest for anti-tank units and sniper units, etc., etc. And in the end, and then they also booby trap much of the homes in the Gaza Strip. One way or another, by the time you finish maneuvering through an area, sometimes multiple times, it's not really a livable condition or a livable neighborhood anymore. And what the IDF has to do is tear it down so it can be rebuilt afterwards. Michelle Burden says Hamas is nothing or are nothing but chickens. Many chicken emojis. Absolutely correct. What they are is chickens who hide behind mothers and children and grandmothers, and that is what cowards do.
when Iron Beam is coming online.
Sometime later in this year. We were literally just talking about this. Iron Beam, for those who don't know, is a laser defense system that is a tier underneath Iron Dome. Iron Dome is sort of like this low range interception system that uses rockets, multiple rockets. Iron Beam is supposed to be a laser based system that intercepts mortars and very, very short range rockets, drones, etc. What's interesting is there's another type of Iron Beam that's being developed, which is a airborne version of it. It's not out yet, but I think by the end of this year, there's expecting to have semi-operational units of it. We need to do a segment on this. We were just talking about this over lunch.
You can put it on anything, any vehicle, any airplane, any drone.
But the idea was let me show you. Let me look this up for a second.
By the time Mati is searching to show you the stuff and people ask where is Yair Pinto, we'll tell you to like and subscribe and hit the subscribe button. We want to reach more people, and only 50% of our viewers are subscribed to our channel. So click the subscribe button. It's gonna really help us to grow and spread the truth about what's happening in Israel.
Thank you.
Found it?
Yes, I found it. So this is an article I was reading the other week. First of all, Iron Beam is supposed to be operational by the end of this year, and the second part is that one of the key points here is that an Iron Beam intercept is supposed to cost $5, where a Iron Dome one costs $50,000, and I think it's at least $50,000, which means it's almost an endless amount of intercepts that we can run. And then there's another intercept that's supposed to another system that's supposed to run on this, which I think is called Light Wing. I don't know if this is the final name, developed by Elbit Systems, which is supposed to be airborne. And then you would have essentially in the air UAVs flying with a system on them. And then when a swarm of drones comes or rockets, it literally like a bug zapper, bzz, 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 zaps them out of the air, knocks them out of the air, and they never make it. And again, the intercept cost is marginal, if that. Michael says hello from Oregon. Hello from Jerusalem, Michael.
Let's see. So what happened once the fully taking over? So what is the long-term plan for our war?
That's a really good question. Israel's goal throughout this process has been very, very clear. We want to remove Hamas from the Gaza Strip, and we want to bring in a different government. And that other government that we want to bring in is going to have to be suggested / forced by the international community, and it's probably going to need to require multiple other Muslim countries intervening, supporting it, and some kind of representatives from the Palestinian people outside of the Gaza Strip to take over. The only way to do this is to remove the Hamas from the Gaza Strip, and the only way to do that is to detach Hamas from the teats of power and funding that they're connected to. And what that means is detach them from the money that they've been stealing from their people, from the taxation that they were collecting from the tunnels, smuggling goods in and out through the Rafah crossing, to detach them from the money they were collecting from looting food coming in humanitarian aid and selling it back to their people. And only when we're able to remove them is there an end to Hamas and an end to this war. It's simply not going to happen with Hamas in the seat. And the goal for everyone in this process is get them out, bring a different government in that represents the people in a more virtuous way, bring aid directly to the people, and of course, free every last hostage.
That's true. That's true.
Hello from Richmond, Virginia, Stephen Braden. Hello back to you. Hello from Tennessee. What's the status in the Sinai Peninsula? I'm guessing Daniel Frank asked that. I'm guessing the question refers to what we were talking about the other week with the Egyptian army amassing forces. This is a very. I'll try to make
to the titles, to the news today. I saw that there is a lot of critic about Egypt right now not helping the Gazan people.
Good, as there
but
should
bringing
be.
more army to the area with the Gaza border.
Yeah. So I'll give, for those of you who are not following the story, I'll give a bit of background to what's been happening. Long story short, a couple months back, a bunch of headlines hit the news, specifically in Israel, talking about the Egyptians amassing forces throughout the Sinai Peninsula at a rate and a number that far surpasses what they're allowed to, based on the Israel-Egypt peace agreement going back to the 70s. And again, there's a whole lot of background information here. The short of it is that Egypt hasn't been amassing more forces, but they're doing it for two reasons. One, they want to project power against for their own people. Two, they're very concerned with regional tensions that have to do with wars in Sudan and elsewhere in Northern Africa. Three, Egypt is afraid of the Palestinians. So when this war breaks out, what you would imagine is in an act of Arab and Muslim solidarity, Egypt would be pushing in goods into the Gaza Strip. But what they actually did is they barricaded, hear me out, they barricaded the Rafah border between the Gaza Strip and the Sinai Peninsula. They built up walls and concertina there, and just endless barricades to prevent Gazans from entering the area. Put up machine gun towers, brought tanks to the border, everything they could do to prevent Gazans from entering into Sinai, because they strongly dislike the idea of any Palestinians being moved out of the Gaza Strip into Sinai. And in fact, that leads me to the next thought, which is that one of the things that Israel has been floating as an idea is, look, many of the Gazans don't want to stay in Gaza. Let's allow them to leave. And the U.S., led by President Trump, early on in this term, he says, hey guys, let's allow the Gazans to leave. He said half of them. I'd say any number of them is positive. And immediately, Egypt and Jordan say the following: absolutely not. Not a single person, not for humanitarian aid, not for medical treatment. We don't care. They're not coming. Now, since then, they've weakened their messaging just a tad, but still, the Egyptians specifically have been very much opposed to the idea of Gazans moving or being evacuated through that part. And let me remind you, a lot of the Gazan population wants to leave the Gaza Strip. Okay.
Yeah. People ask again, where is Yair?
Where's Yair? Yair is off to doing other things.
The reports.
Other reports, yeah.
And let's see. I think we almost done. There is any other question that people want to share with us? Because
yeah, we have a couple more minutes for last segments of news. Since we're here and since we're wrapping up, take a minute, like, share, and subscribe. And make sure that if you feel inclined, we're running the last couple days on a campaign called Rebuild Israel. We've been doing this for months. We've been planting trees, an entire forest planted by TBN Israel viewers. We were just there the other week, last week actually. The domain is, or the address is tbn.org/rebuild Israel, one word. Once again, tbn.org/rebuild Israel. Help us turn the destruction into a renewal. We live in a country that is a living miracle on every area, specifically when it comes to the vegetation of this land. Help us bring it back to where it was supposed to be.
Somebody asked about the attack that was in the school in Gaza, that Hamas said that 9 children been died and 3 wives and 1 husband. Because that's what that the IDF started investigation about it, because we cannot approve that there was really 9 children.
We don't know. Yeah.
We don't know with Hamas.
Yeah.
The health minister of Hamas just saying stuff all the time, and the numbers are much more huge. It's possible that many times after the IDF asked a couple of times to that's funny actually, because they ask to evacuate the building before they getting into it.
Yeah.
Or even before they attacking, what give time also to the terrorists to run away from that area. But we see here that Hamas didn't let to the people probably go away to the civilians and kept them as human shields.
Yeah. Look, Hamas, there's a couple, there's a lot here. Obviously, one, Hamas lies on a regular basis. They've lied throughout the war. If we would tally up the numbers of casualties that Hamas has reported during the war, it would probably be double what it actually is. But in all reality, one, I want to be clear here. Israel is at war against a vile terrorist organization. And sadly, because of this war that Hamas started with the state of Israel, there are civilians in Gaza that have been killed. And it is tragic, very tragic. And they all deserve a better life. And they all deserve better than living under Hamas in the Gaza Strip. And I want to say something also that's important to note. I've personally been on several calls with the IDF spokesperson unit, where you see the level of investigation that is taking place by the IDF every time there's a claim of a misuse of power or death of civilians. The IDF thoroughly investigates these events, including, by the way, anytime an infringement of following rules and regulations is found, the IDF punishes any officer and commander that was involved in it severely, by the way, very severely. But two, just so people understand, none of these events get brushed under the carpet. That doesn't happen here. It is always thorough. It's always serious. It's always taken seriously, and it's never made light of. Israel takes a very serious account of what happens in the Gaza Strip. We do the utmost effort to uphold Palestinian Gazan lives, not, by the way, terrorist lives, but definitely the lives of civilians. And we've done so throughout history. I've seen this firsthand through almost
the whole time from the day that the war started.
I've been in the army in the army in and out since 2001.
Reserve.
Over 20 years of accumulated military service, on and off. Look, the IDF has always upheld life. It's always preserved life. And anytime there's a question about it, it is thoroughly investigated. And again, we do the utmost effort to prevent any kind of harm to civilian life.
There is last question. How can we pray with Israel?
Good question. I think that's sort of a place to start wrapping this this live with. I'll say this lightly. I'll say this heavily. When you never know how to pray, this is what my pastor many years ago taught me. He says, when you don't know how to pray, pray the Lord's Prayer. Just ask His will to be done. But in this case, look, the leaders of Israel and the fighting force of Israel is under a weight that is unimaginable in its severity. We have soldiers that have been fighting for almost 600 days straight. We have 19, 20, 21-year-olds who've been at war since they've gone into the army. We have civilians that have yet to been able to return to their homes. We need prayer for victory for our army, for wisdom for our leaders, for God's peace to return back to this land, to this city, and for our enemies to be transformed. I don't want them to just be beaten, We want them to be transformed, and we want them to be given better leadership than what they currently have. And for all of you at home that are watching us, and there's a whole lot of you, just take a moment and pray for the people of Israel. Pray for the peace of God to reign over this land, and pray for the Palestinians suffering from Hamas. Pray for the Palestinians suffering under Islamic Jihad and under the Palestinian Authority, and for those suffering under the vile regime of the Iranians and El Julani in Syria and under Hezbollah in Lebanon. Pray for them to get a better life, because God knows they deserve it. That's it. I'm Mati Shoshani. We're here at TBN Israel, coming to you live from Jerusalem, talking about Gideon's Chariots. And if you care about what's happening here, make sure you keep up to date with everything that's happening in this land, in this region, by subscribing to this YouTube channel. By the way, we release updates also on our Instagram channels, both me and Yael personally, at Mati Shoshani or Yael Pinto on Instagram, and on Facebook, I believe. And for all of you guys who've commented and liked and shared and all that jazz, thank you. It means so much. It has been an amazing experience feeling the love and the care and the compassion from the viewers of this channel. We love you guys. We care about you all, and we hope to see you all here in Israel sometime soon. And for now, goodbye from Jerusalem.